Today, I'm going to make a very simple dish using eggplant and eggs, two familiar ingredients, but when combined, they create a rather unique, soft, and easy-to-eat dish. The recipe isn't complicated, the ingredients are easy to find, and it's perfect for quick meals at home. If you have eggplant and eggs on hand and don't know how to prepare them, you can try this method. First, I'll prepare the eggplants. I take each eggplant and cut off the stem at the top. Then, I put all the eggplants into a bowl and pour in water. Next, I wash each eggplant individually to ensure thorough cleaning. I sprinkle a spoonful of salt directly onto the surface of the eggplant and gently rub it around with my hands. This rubbing helps remove dirt and grime, as well as sap and other impurities clinging to the eggplant skin. You should rub evenly to ensure all sides are cleaned. After rubbing with salt, I rinse the eggplants with clean water. I usually rinse them at least 1 to 2 times to ensure no salt or dirt remains on the surface. After washing the eggplant, I drained it and placed it on a cutting board to begin slicing. At this step, you can let it drain a little to make it easier to handle when cutting. I will slice the eggplant into round slices, each about 4 to 5 centimeters thick. This size is quite ideal, not too small and not too large, ensuring the eggplant cooks evenly and retains its tenderness inside. A small note: after slicing into rounds, I further cut each round into 4 parts. The reason is that eggplant shrinks when cooked, so cutting it into slightly larger pieces ensures it remains a good size when cooked, not too small or mushy. Once finished slicing, I put all the eggplant into a large bowl. Next, pour in enough water to completely submerge the eggplant. This step prevents the eggplant from browning and helps maintain its beautiful color during preparation. Then, add a little salt and a little vinegar. Then, gently mix to dissolve the salt and vinegar in the water. This mixture helps to clean the eggplant more thoroughly and reduce its slightly bitter taste. After that, let the eggplant soak for about 5 minutes. Next, I cracked 2 chicken eggs into a clean bowl. You should choose a slightly wide bowl so it's easier to stir. Then, I used chopsticks to stir the eggs thoroughly. At this step, you should stir continuously for about 1 minute to ensure the yolks and whites are completely mixed. When stirred correctly, the egg mixture will be smoother, without lumps or separation. Beating the eggs thoroughly will help them cook more evenly, and the texture will be softer and more appealing. After stirring, I set the bowl of eggs aside. Next, I took a small bowl and added the seasonings one by one to make the dish more flavorful. First, 1 tablespoon soy sauce, 1 tablespoon oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon seasoning powder, and 1 tablespoon MSG, 1 tablespoon black pepper, 1 tablespoon flour, and about 100 milliliters water. This flour will help the mixture thicken slightly when cooked, allowing the sauce to coat the eggplant and eggs evenly. After adding all the ingredients, I stirred well with a spoon until everything was combined. You should stir thoroughly to ensure the flour dissolves completely and avoid lumps. Once the mix next, I prepared a few additional ingredients to enhance the flavor of the dish. First, I washed and finely chopped a chili pepper. You can adjust the amount of chili pepper according to your taste. If you don't like spicy food, you can add less or omit it altogether. After chopping, I put it on a separate plate. Then, I prepared a tomato. I washed it and chopped it into bite-sized pieces. The tomato will add a slight sourness to the dish, balancing the richness of the eggs and creating a more beautiful color. After chopping, I also put it on a plate for easy use. Finally, the garlic. I took a few cloves of garlic that had been peeled and cleaned, then chopped them finely and minced them. Garlic is a very important ingredient, helping to create a fragrant aroma for the dish right from the start of cooking. Once all these ingredients were prepared, I put them on separate plates so that cooking would be quicker and easier later. Returning to the eggplant after soaking, I drained it and gently squeezed to remove the remaining water. You should squeeze gently, not too hard to avoid crushing the eggplant. just enough to remove excess water so that the mixture isn't too runny when mixed. After draining, I transferred the eggplant to another bowl for further processing. Next, I poured the previously beaten eggs into the bowl of eggplant, then gently mixed with my hands or chopsticks so that the egg coats each piece evenly. After mixing, you will see that there is still some leftover egg mixture in the bowl. I will discard this so that the mixture is not too runny, making it easier to cook and preventing the dish from becoming mushy. Then, I added a little flour to the bowl of eggplant. The amount of flour doesn't need to be much, just enough to create a light binding. Then I continued to mix well, so that the flour lightly coats the eggplant pieces. This step helps the eggplant retain its shape better when cooked, and also creates a binding layer so that it tastes better and looks more appealing when fried or stir-fried. Now let's begin the main cooking process. First, I place the pan on the stove and heat it up. Once the pan is hot, I add a sufficient amount of cooking oil. Not too much, but enough to prevent the eggplant from sticking while frying. When the oil starts to heat up, I add the egg-coated eggplant to the pan. At this point, I gently and evenly stir to prevent the eggplant pieces from sticking together and to help the egg coating set. You don't need to fry it for too long. Just stir a few times until the eggplant is slightly firm and the outer layer is lightly golden. After the eggplant is lightly fried, I remove it and place it on a separate plate. This step helps the eggplant retain its softness inside while having a firmer outer layer, making it tastier when cooked further. Next, I use the remaining oil in the pan and sauté the minced garlic. I stir gently until the garlic starts to turn golden and fragrant. Once the garlic is fragrant, add the prepared tomatoes and stir well. The tomatoes will gradually soften and release their juices, forming the base for the sauce. You can stir a little more to ensure the tomatoes are thoroughly cooked and slightly thickened. Then add a little salt for initial flavor, and continue pouring the previously prepared sauce into the pan. Now stir well to combine the spices with the tomatoes, creating a rich and flavorful sauce. Next, add the fried eggplant back into the pan. Turn gently to coat the eggplant evenly with the sauce, allowing the flavors to penetrate each piece. Then, cover the pan and simmer over low heat for a few minutes. This step helps the eggplant absorb the flavors evenly, while also softening it without drying it out. You only need to use low heat and don't need to stir too much. Once the ingredients are cooked through and the sauce starts to thicken, I open the lid, add the chopped chilies, and stir quickly. Adding the chilies last helps retain their beautiful color and characteristic mild spiciness. Finally, I turn off the heat and serve the dish. This is a very versatile and easy-to-make dish for everyday meals. The ingredients are simple and easy to find, so you can make it any time without much preparation. It's delicious served with hot rice. The eggplant is soft and flavorful, and the combination with the egg creates a light, creamy texture that prevents it from being dry. Additionally, you can customize it depending on the ingredients you have at home, such as adding minced meat, sausage, or reducing the seasoning for a lighter taste. Because the eggplant is quite soft after cooking, this dish is suitable for both children and the elderly. It's also a time-saving dish, requiring few complicated steps, but still ensuring a rich flavor. Just a few simple steps, and you'll have a delicious meal for the whole family. If you find this dish interesting, feel free to try making it at home. And don't forget to follow us for more tips and simple, easy-to-make recipes.